I give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha Rakah Kodash. Double honors unto our apostle elders, which ruled Great Millstone well, and which taught us the truth, which taught Israel the truth, which taught me the truth. And shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel, wa abababal. So I declare the Copyright Act, Section 107, giving me the right to use copyright material for commenting and educating my people of the accuracy of the Bible. All right. So this shows that the devil is coming down with great wrath. So we have a sure word of prophecy, and you would do well if you took heed. The devil being the so-called white race, the red devil the Bible speaks of.
Summit, where Miller described the left as, quote, enemies of civilization. This is part of Stephen Miller's speech.
Here in the United States, we have taken the necessary and essential action of formally recognizing left-wing violence as a form of political terrorism that is a direct threat to our national security and the survival of our Republican form of government. President Trump issued a directive. In our parlance, it's called a National Security Presidential Memorandum, or NSPM, NSPM 7 to be exact, that directs for the first time in American history all of our law enforcement and intelligence agencies to work together to disrupt, identify, defund, debank, arrest, and prosecute these political terrorists that are operating in our country. It's very important to understand that left-wing political terrorism seeks as its ultimate end the overthrow of our system and form of government.
On Thursday, the State Department announced new visa restrictions targeting what it calls, quote, members of far-left terrorist and other aligned groups. Secretary of State Rubio talked about targeting anti-fascist organizations.
The President signed National Security Presidential Memorandum number 7, outlining a comprehensive strategy to investigate and disrupt Antifa terror networks and their allies. Last November, the State Department designated 4 violent, far-left extremist groups as foreign terrorist organizations, and there will be more designations soon.
We're joined now by 2 guests. Mike German, former FBI special agent specializing in domestic terrorism and covert operations. His latest book, Policing White Supremacy, The Enemy Within. Also author of Disrupt, Discredit, and Divide, How the New FBI Damages Democracy. And we're joined by Ken Klippenstein in Madison, Wisconsin, independent investigative journalist who's been closely following the Trump administration's designation of left-wing activism as terrorism. Ken, let's begin with you. Lay out what happened at the so-called terrorism summit yesterday and what caused you most alarm.
Well, it was an extraordinary event because it pulled in representatives over 65 different countries to discuss the supposed threat of political terrorism, and that's kind of how it was touted to the press in the run-up to the event. But any pretense that this was going to be a neutral look at the threat of different political groups quickly fell by the wayside as they introduced a term which I have never heard before, which is far-left terrorism, or FLT is the acronym they're using to describe this new purported threat. And if you look at the language they've used to describe this event, the White House put out an admirably frank press release yesterday describing the event as prioritizing a counterterrorism approach that treats the political left with the same, quote, ferocity as we have fought traditional jihadi groups in the past. So they're putting...
All right, so as you hear the report, all right, it shows that the devil is coming down with great wrath, which is Revelation 12. All right, but I'm going to start at verse 10. In fact, let's start at 7. It says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. The dragon is the so-called white race, the red devil, his government, and his military are fighting against Yahweh, his son Yahushai, the Holy Spirit, which is with the hopeful elect prophets of the nation of Israel. All right, when you go into the word heaven here, it actually tells you heaven.
Strong's G 3772, Uranas. Uranas.
Which when you go down to Strong's definition, it says especially the gospel. Especially the gospel. And it says Christianity, but the real Christian is the Israelite. All right? So they're making war against the Israelites. All right? It says, and prevailed not, neither was there place found any more in heaven, which they're being revealed as counterfeits, and that's what they don't like. All right, because their whole system is set up on lies, and they gotta fight for those lies because they don't have the truth, so it doesn't stand on its own. It says in Wisdom of Solomon 2, it says, for the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright, our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy, neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave. So they don't have faith, they don't have hope. All they have is money and weapons of mass destruction. All right, now it says in verse 10, let us oppress the poor righteous man, let us not spare the widow, nor reverence the ancient gray hairs of the aged, which they're moving in the spirit of ancient Rome and the Greeks, which Lex Luthor, Stephen Miller, the skinhead that you saw speaking, he openly said that America's politics go back to Rome and Greece, all right, because those were the Edomites in the past. Now it says, verse 12, therefore let us lie in wait for the righteous, because he is not for our turn. And that's why they're calling it political terrorism. And he is clean contrary to our doings, because we disagree with their abominations. He upbraideth us with our offending the law of Yahweh, and objecteth to our infamy, the transgressings of our education, because they teach lies. They deceive the world. All right. So it says, verse 16, we are esteemed of him as counterfeits. All right. The small hat, tiny tops that are in the Holy Land, they are counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. We refuse to accept the left-handed jab of the wicked, which they put venom inside people through a device, and now they're going to come down with great wrath, making an implantable microchip, the mark of the beast, mandatory for buying and selling. He pronounceth the end of the just to be blessed, and maketh his boast that Yahweh is his father, and we have that right through Yahushai. So in their mind, verse 17, let us see if his words be true, and let us prove what shall happen in the end of him. For if the just man be the son of Yahweh, we are the Israelites, he will help him and deliver him from the hands of his enemies. Let us examine him with despitefulness and torture, that we may know his meekness and prove his patience. All right, so they're going to try to destroy us, all right, destroy our lives, literally by trying to put us to death. All right, and some of us are going to die for this truth, for this testimony, and that's all right, because it's a great honor to stand on business for Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, and be as our master, Yahushai, our head, which he died being crucified, telling the truth. All right. It says in verse 8 of Revelation 12, verse 8, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. So Esau's being revealed, and they don't like it because they're the serpent and they like to hide under lies, all right? And they're being revealed by Jacob, the supplanter, all right? We're the Israelites and we're telling the truth. It says, and the great dragon, which represents the government of the so-called white race, was cast out, that old serpent which was in the garden that deceived Eve, called the devil, the accuser of our brethren, and Satan, which is the adversary to the Israelites, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, which they're going to be made slaves under the Israelites, and his angels were cast out with him when Yahushua returns. He's going to burn up all their military, all right, 2nd Ezra 13, and their kingdom, Babylon the great whore, is going to be dissolved, all right? And you can see it's a great whore. When you watch Marco Rubio and his speech that he gave at that conference, all right, he said that everybody that was there did not agree with the American dream, but they were there confederate against the Israelites, which is biblical. All right, Psalm 83. It says in verse 10 of Revelation 12, and I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our power, Yahweh, which we are the kingdom of Yahweh through Yahushai. All right, and this deals with the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which been scattered throughout the world in slavery, according to biblical prophecy, and the power of his anointed. For the accuser of our brethren, which is that so-called white race, and they're confederate with the other nations, is cast down, which accuse them before our power day and night, which they have these secret meetings. It says, and they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, Yahushai. All right, we have salvation through Yahushai as Israelites, and by the word of their testimony, because we tell the truth, and they want to put us to death for telling the truth. And they love not their lives unto the death, which some of us are going to die as a testimony for this truth and fulfillment of prophecy. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, which is talking about the Israelites that are in this truth, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, the so-called white race, is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time, which he's going to persecute us. It says, and when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, which they're going to go into slavery under us, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. The woman represents Israel. The man-child is Yahushai. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half of a time, from the face of the serpent, which Yahweh is going to make a way for us to survive. All right, he always has. All right, and now we're coming out of this spiritual Egypt. All right, he's going to make a way for us, and Yahushai is the way. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood, which he's going to use his military, and he's going to come down with great wrath, and they're going to come down like a flood upon us. But Yahweh promised us through Yahushai and the Holy Spirit that we're going to get a lifted standard. All right. Some brothers are going to die boldly, and some brothers are going to have the ability to overcome these scorpions and serpents. It says, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth, right? So miracles are going to happen so that we could overcome the flood. All right. It says, and the dragon was wroth with the woman. They're angry with the Israelites that tell the truth, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, the elect of Israel, which are preaching Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, which keep the commandments of Yahweh and have the testimony of Yahushai, Hamashiach. All right. So they're going to come down with great wrath against the hopeful elect. That's their plot. All right. Psalm 83. It says, a psalm, verse 1, a song or psalm of Asaph, which he's speaking to the elect in a future generation. We are that generation today. Keep not thou silence, O Elohim. The Elohim are the elect, which are as gods on earth. Hold not thy peace and be not still, O Elohim, which just as Yahweh made Moses as a god before Pharaoh, Yahweh through Yahushai and the Holy Spirit is going to make us as gods before these mortal men that are going to oppress us. It says, so we're told not to hold our peace. It says, hold not thy peace and be not still, O Elohim, which we preach the truth. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head, the serpent, the so-called white race, the red devil the Bible speaks of. Edomites is their biblical name. Now I'm going to go into that word tumult. Make a tumult, which is Hama. All right. And it says to murmur, growl, roar, cry aloud, mourn, rage. Right. So they're raging against us with the other nations. And what's it say? In Psalm 2. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Because they think they're gonna butcher us. That's what it says in Ezekiel 35. All right, in the NLT version. All right, they think they're gonna butcher us. All right, but they're really gonna lose completely and eventually go extinct. All right, first their kingdom is gonna be destroyed by their allies and enemies. The NATO nations, the UN nations, their allies, and their enemies, the BRIC nations. Yahweh through Yahushai is going to put it in their heart to shoot nuclear missiles on their kingdom. America is going to lose World War III, and that's why these billionaires are leaving America and building bunkers. All right? It says, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, the prophets of Israel, right? They're against us. They're making laws against us, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. So they're going to try to come down with great wrath upon us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision, all right? Which that word derision, pretty much they're being scoffed at, and they don't like it because they're being revealed and their shame is upon them. Bawasha, Bawasha, Bawasha. Verse 5, then shall he speak unto them in his wrath and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion, Yahushai and the elect of Israel. I will declare the decree. Yahweh has said unto me, thou art my son, which he said to King Solomon, which King Solomon is Yahushai, if you understand reincarnation. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. See? So Yahweh is going to send Yahushai, and Yahushai is going to enslave the heathen when they persecute us. And it says, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. He's talking to the elect, which are Yasharallah, he Prince Power, the Israelites, which we're going to be kings and priests when Yahushua returns. He's going to make us kings and priests, and we're going to rule over the heathen. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth, and we're instructed through the grace which we received through Yahushua. Serve Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling, because we're the Israelites. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry and ye perish from the way. Acknowledge Yahushua, for he is in the scriptures. Moses wrote of Yahushua, when his wrath is kindled but a little, blessed are all they that put their trust in him, which the other nations cannot do. So they're weaker than us, though they have money, though they're confederate, and they have technology, they're weaker than us. It says in Psalm 83 verse 3, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones, which they're confederate against the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians that know the truth. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So they're going to try to destroy the prophets. For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. We just saw the meeting that they're having, and they're saying left, they're calling us left wing, which really that left wing, they call it left wing, but really they're talking about Jake, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. They use different terms to hide their plans, right? Because they move in deceit. It says the tabernacles, the men of Edom, the so-called white race, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, which Ishmaelites are known as the Arabs of Moab, the continent of Asia. It says, and the Hagarenes, which is another form of Ishmael, Gabal, a form of Esau that is in the Holy Land, and Ammon, the Japanese, and Amalek, the small hat, tiny top, big nose bastards in Ashdod, the Philistines, and it says the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, the Hamites, all right? Ashur, the Assyrians, also is joined with them. They have Hopen, the sons of Lot, the Chinese, and the Japanese. They tell them, they tell the world that they're going to rule next, but they're not. It's going to be the Israelites. Selah. Think about this. See what we're looking at. Examine the times in itself. All right. It says, do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin at the brook of Kison, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. All right. And that's what's going to happen. The Lord Yahweh is going to send the Lord Yahushua, and he's going to save the elect of Israel and make us lords over the heathen. All right. Obadiah. It says in verse 15, for the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, which are the Israelites, so shall all the heathen drink continually, which they're going to go into slavery under us. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. All right, the Edomites are going to be made extinct. It says, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions, which they're going to be our slaves. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau, the so-called white race, for stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for they are going to be made extinct. For Yahweh has spoken it. Verse 21, and saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, which are the prophets. And we're telling the truth. which is condemning Esau and his government. And the kingdom shall be Yahweh's, the Israelites. All right. Now I want to go to Isaiah 59. It says in verse 19, I'll start at 18. According to their deeds, accordingly he will repay fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will repay recompense. So shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, which were in the western hemisphere in America, and his glory from the rising of the sun, the east. When the enemy, which are these different nations which are confederate with the Edomites against us, shall come in like a flood through their militaries, the Spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him, which he's going to give us power, supernatural power. And the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and unto them that turn from transgression. And Jacob saith Yahweh. This is why we tell our people to repent. As for me, this is my covenant with them, saith Yahweh. My spirit that is upon thee, and my words which I have put in thy mouth shall not depart out of thy mouth. And that's what they're trying to do. Stop us from teaching that we're the Israelites, which is a gift from Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, and they can't do it. All right? They're going to be destroyed in pursuing it. Nor out of the mouth of thy seed, nor out of the mouth of thy seed. For we're going to overcome, and we're going to get the heathen as our slaves, and we're going to reproduce, saith Yahweh, from henceforth and forever, which our kingdom is created to rule forever. It says in Daniel 8, verse 24, it says, and his power shall be mighty. No, let me go up one more. 23. It says, and in the latter time, which were in the latter time of their kingdom, I'm talking about Edom, which started with the Greeks and the Romans, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, which Yahweh raised these Edomites up, just as he raised up Pharaoh to destroy them and glorify his name. It says, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice, and shall destroy the mighty and holy people of Israel. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, promoting witchcraft, mega, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, which they're greatly proud, and by peace shall destroy many, which they say it's for the peace of their country, for the peace of their countries, but really it says when they say peace is safety set in destruction. It says, he shall also stand up against the prince of princes. So they're planning to try to fight Yahweh Shai, and that's why they got a space force. But he shall be broken without hand. Yahweh is going to send Yahweh Shai at a command, and Yahweh Shai is going to put forth that command and rebuke Esau and his military and destroy them and the devil and his angels. That's why this nuclear missile was created. It says, and the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true, wherefore thou shut thou up the vision, which we have the vision, and we see it coming to pass. For it shall be for many days, which for a later time. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterward I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it, because it wasn't for that time. It's for this time now when they have the technology of the nuclear missile, which it's going to devour their kingdom after they make the implantable microchip, the mark of the beast, mandatory for buying and selling. Now it says in Daniel 7, let's see. It says in Daniel 7 and 18, but the saints of the Most High, which are the Israelites that worship Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever, forever, even forever and ever. Then I would know the truth of the four beasts, which was diverse from all the others. The fourth beast is talking about the Roman Empire, all right, which America is in the image of ancient Rome, diverse from all the others because it has the democracy that it claims, all right, which they vote a president in instead of setting up a king where it's passed down to his sons, all right. So this is what makes it diverse from the other kingdoms before it. It says, diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron. Talking about its military might is moving as Romans, which they conquered the world through the sword. And his nails of brass, which devour and break in pieces and stamp the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows, which is America. They're the most proud Edomites. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints. That's what they're plotting. That's what they're pretty much conveying through their media press, and prevailed against them, which they're going to murder us. They want to butcher us, as it says in Ezekiel 35. It says, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom, which he's going to do through Yahushai. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of his, it says, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings, the European Union, that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings, which America came out of the Europe's countries, right? When they invaded America, you had the Spaniard, you had the Greek, you had the Roman, you had the French, the British, the Germania, Germania Major, Germania Minor. All right. It says in verse 25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, because they're going to persecute us, and think to change times and laws. You just heard that reporter, one of the persons that were being interviewed said that he never even heard of these statements that they were making. They were coming up with new laws, which they're speaking as a dragon, all right? They're coming down with draconian law, pretty much plotting on trying to murder us. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times, and the dividing of time, which we're at the end. We're in the later time of these times. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints. That's why Yahushua is being sent from Yahweh to give the kingdom to the Israelite elect, which he's going to save us from the second death, the nuclear destruction of this great whore, giving us immortal bodies that do not sin. And then he's going to give us the ability to enslave the heathen, starting with their elite, which will be in the bunkers outside of America, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. All the other nations, they're going to go into slavery under us for 1,000 years, all right, which they're going to get double, and then Esau's going to be made extinct. It says, here thereto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me, which I read earlier, he was sick from these visions, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart. Let me make sure I'm saying it right.
Cogitation.
It says, refers to the act of thinking deeply, meditating, and carefully considering a subject, which we're at the end now, and these prophecies are open to us. Daniel 12. It says in verse 1, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which is an archangel, which standeth for the sons of my people. He fights for the Israelites. And there shall be a time of trouble. We're in Jacob's trouble right now, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time, which they're going to cause a great tribulation by persecuting us and making the implantable microchip mandatory for buying and selling in their persecution of us. It says, and at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book, which are the Israelites repenting back to Yahweh and his son Yahushua, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth, in the confusion of the earth, and all these false religions, shall awake, because you have the prophets telling the truth, and you got people waking up on all, spectrums of life. It says some to everlasting life, that's for the elect of Israel, the remnant, and some to shame and everlasting contempt, because they're learning of their judgment. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, which we're telling you about the truth, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. The elect, we're literally going to bring forth the Israelites, because them that perish in the second death, they're going to come through the loins of the elect. Once again, we're going to repopulate the earth with Israelites, but this time in bodies that do not sin. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. So we are at the end. We are in the later times. Many shall run to and fro. The technology, you're able to fly across the world, drive a car across country, and knowledge shall be increased, which we have technology. Right now I'm doing this video on an Android phone, and I have the blue letter, and I'm able to put it on the internet, which allows this video to go out throughout the world. And that's why Esau is going to come down with great wrath, knowing that he had but a short time, and these other nations are confederate against us. It says, then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood other two, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, how long shall it be to the end of these wonders? And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and sware by him that liveth for ever, that it shall be for a times and half and half, and when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people, all these things shall be finished. So we're literally at the end of this so-called white man's kingdom. We've been scattered throughout the world, and the knowledge of the truth is being preached throughout the whole world. It tells you in Matthew 24, when this gospel is preached to the four corners of the earth, then shall the end come. And I heard, but I understood not, because it wasn't for his time. Then said I, O Lord, O my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. So we're at the end now because it's being revealed. Many shall be purified and made white and tried. Talking about the remnant of Israel, starting with the elect. But the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, just like Pharaoh didn't understand in Egypt. But the wise shall understand, which really these devils, they're coming down with great wrath, and it's going to be their end, according to biblical prophecy. All right, it says, and from the time the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, which in the past happened under the Greeks, when they invaded our city, Jerusalem. All right, and that's what they plan to do now. They're going to siege us, Jerusalem, which is a people before a place. All right, which this month, just recently, I shared it on this channel of the remembrance of 70 A.D., the abomination of desolation, which was the Roman Edomites destroying Jerusalem by sieging it. All right, and that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to destroy us so that we're not teaching the truth anymore. It says, and the abomination that maketh desolation set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Blessed is he that waiteth, and cometh to the 1,330 days. But go down thy way, the end till the end be, which we're in the end, is being revealed. For thou shalt rest and stand thy lot at the end of the days, which Daniel is on earth today, most likely in America. He is an Israelite prophet. All right. Now I'm going to go to 2nd Ezra 8 and verse 50. It says, for many great miseries shall be done to them that in the latter times shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride. All right. So I'm going to jump down to 61, and it says, and therefore is my judgment now at hand. These things have I not showed unto all men, but unto thee and a few like thee. Then answered I and said, behold, O Lord, now hast thou showed me the multitude of the wonders which thou wilt begin to do in the last times. But at what time thou hast not showed me. Verse 9, which this is an angel named Uriel, which is giving Ezra the vision of the last days, a future, all right, a later time, while he was in Babylon under the Medo-Persian Empire. It says in verse 9, 2nd Ezra 9 verse 1, 2nd Ezra 9 verse 1, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And you see us doing that through these videos every day. We're showing you how close we're getting to the end of the wicked's kingdom. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, Then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, which we're seeing, right? Earthquakes all over the world, uproars of the people, the wicked are ruined, so the people mourn in the world. Then thou shalt well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. And it says, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings, which are, it's prophesied, in wonder and powerful works and endings and effects and signs, which we're going to see amazing things the closer we get to the end. All right, it says, and everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed. See, so we're going to escape the hopeful elect, and that's why we have the truth. And we're going to be given a lifted standard of supernatural power. It says, shall be preserved from the said perils, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning, which we were sanctified by the word. It's in John 15 and verse 3. Now ye are clean through the word of Yahweh, which I have spoken unto you, which this is Yahweh Shai speaking, the Messiah, the Son of Yahweh. Abide in me by the word in the Holy Spirit, and I in you. As the branch, the Israelite man, cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can ye except ye abide in me. So that's why our patience is in this truth. Revelation 14 and 12. Here's the patience as we wait for Yahweh to send Yahweh Shai to save us of the saints. It's for the Israelites. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahweh and the faith of Yahweh Shai. So we're meditating on this word of Yahweh, which speaks of Yahweh Shai. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Wa Abba Babal.